I never imagined betrayal would come dressed as love. My name is Sarah. I'm 30 years old, and I thought I had found the man I would spend the rest of my life with. I wasn't born into privilege. I built my life slowly, piece by piece, learning to survive off grit and faith. That's why when I met Daniel with his charm and gentle smile, I let my walls down in a way I hadn't since I was a girl. For 3 years I believed him when he said I was his home. For 6 months I wore his ring, telling myself the storms of my past had finally led me to safe harbor. But as I stand here now confiding in you, I know that harbor was nothing but a mirage, and behind it waited a betrayal deeper than anything I had endured before. It began with a piece of paper. A prenup, though, for me it was never just legal language. It was supposed to be protection, not from him, but from the shadows of my own past, the trauma of watching everything I once trusted slip away. Years ago, my parents lost the house I grew up in because they refused to sign an agreement that would have safeguarded them. I was 17, standing in the yard as strangers carried away our furniture, hearing my mother curse my father for choosing pride over practicality. That image never left me. So when Daniel asked me to marry him, I knew I had to protect myself. What was mine before him would stay mine. What we built together would be shared. That was fair. That was safety. I thought he understood. I explained it gently, calmly, as if I were laying my soul bare for him to see. He took the papers with a smile, promised to review them, and for a fleeting moment I believed we were on the same side. But the deadline crept closer, and with it came a storm I never expected. Over dinner one night, as I reminded him that we needed to finalize the prenup, his expression hardened. He set his fork down and looked at me not with love, but with disdain. He said it was insulting, that it made him feel like I saw him as a thief, a liar, someone waiting to betray me. He said his parents had built a life on trust without any such paper, and demanded I choose him or that disgusting contract. In that moment, something inside me cracked. I had shared my deepest fears with him, opened the scars of my childhood so he would understand, and instead he used my vulnerability as a weapon against me. His ultimatum wasn't about love, it was about power. I stared at him, and for the first time I didn't see my fiancé. I saw a stranger with an agenda, someone who had been waiting for the right moment to reveal himself. I wish I could tell you I stood up then and there, that I walked away without hesitation. But love is a cruel illusion, and part of me still clung to the idea that maybe he was just scared, that maybe his anger came from a place of hurt, not greed. That night, as I lay awake beside him, I remembered my mother's voice, sharp and broken, blaming my father for our ruin. I promised myself I would not become her. I would not let another man's pride strip me of my security. The next morning I made my decision. Not with shouting, not with tears, but with silence. I canceled the venue, the caterer, every last reservation, even though it cost me thousands I would never see again. Better that than losing myself. I posted a simple message online: our wedding was canceled. I wished him well. No drama, no explanation, just an ending. That should have been enough, but betrayal never dies quietly. His family came for me, his father pounding on my door, demanding I fix it, insisting I tell the world it had been nothing but a lover's quarrel. My refusal only fueled their rage, and soon whispers began to circle about me. Stories that I was unstable, ungrateful, that I had driven him away with paranoia. It was the same old tactic I had grown up with: silence the woman by painting her broken. But I wasn't that 17-year-old girl anymore. I was a woman who had survived too much to surrender now. The whispers spread faster than I could catch them. Old friends texted me awkward condolences as though a death had occurred, but their words were laced with something else: doubt. I saw it in the way they asked if I had really loved him, if maybe I had pushed too hard with my legal paranoia. And the worst part, Daniel leaned into the rumors. He began showing up at the bars we used to frequent, laughing loudly, putting on a show with women I didn't recognize, his hand always wrapped around someone's waist. He wanted the world to see me as the bitter ex-fiancée who had ruined her own fairy tale. I tried to ignore it at first, telling myself that truth didn't need defending. But then the betrayal deepened. My best friend, someone I had trusted since high school, posted a picture of herself out with Daniel. The caption read, "Real love doesn't need contracts." That night I cried harder than I had at any point since the breakup. It wasn't just Daniel. It was the realization that people I had let into the softest parts of my life had chosen spectacle over loyalty. But grief has a strange way of hardening into resolve. The next morning, I wiped my face, brewed a pot of coffee, and opened my laptop. If Daniel wanted to play games, I would not play the victim. I began compiling everything: messages, voicemails, receipts. Every detail that painted the truth that he had tried to pressure me into surrendering, that he had twisted my childhood wounds into weapons. And then came the shock I hadn't expected. Buried in an old email chain, I found a forwarded message Daniel had forgotten to delete before he gave me his laptop one weekend months earlier to help with wedding planning. It was from his uncle, a lawyer, advising him on how to avoid signing a prenup and still gain access to shared assets once we were married. My stomach turned to ice. His disdain at dinner, his accusations that I insulted him, it had all been strategy. He never wanted marriage built on love. He wanted marriage built on what he thought he could take. Holding that email in my hands, I realized something chilling. This wasn't just betrayal. It was calculation premeditated in a way that left me trembling. Every smile, every whispered promise, it had all been a mask. I thought about confronting him, about showing up at his apartment and throwing the proof in his face. But then I stopped. What good would that do? He would twist it, gaslight me, make me doubt my own eyes. No, if he wanted to play in shadows, I would drag the truth into the light where shadows couldn't survive. I called a lawyer of my own, not to sue him, not yet, but to learn my rights, to understand how to protect myself if he tried to spin this further. The lawyer, a woman with kind eyes and a steel voice, told me I had more power than I thought. "He wanted to paint you paranoid," she said. "Let him. You've got proof that shows otherwise. And when the time is right, the truth won't just protect you, it'll bury him." That night I slept better than I had in weeks. Not because the pain was gone, but because, for the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was planning. Daniel thought the end of our engagement was his stage, his performance of power, but he had no idea I was already building the ending to his story, one he would never see coming. Weeks blurred together, but instead of fading, the fire inside me grew sharper. Every time I heard Daniel's name, every time another photo surfaced of him with some woman smiling for his performance, I felt less grief and more clarity. It wasn't love I had lost, it was an illusion. And illusions don't deserve mourning. They deserve exposure. I began moving carefully, like someone piecing together a puzzle where every shard of glass could cut. That old email wasn't just proof of his intentions. It was a doorway. His uncle's words revealed more than advice. They hinted at debts Daniel had been hiding, investments that had soured, pressure from his family to secure stability through me. Suddenly it all made sense: the urgency of his proposal, the way his parents showered me with gifts early on, the endless hints about building together. I wasn't a bride to them. I was a lifeline. The betrayal burned anew when I thought of the nights I'd stayed up late helping Daniel polish resumes, listening to him talk about dreams of independence, of being his own man. He hadn't wanted independence. He wanted insurance me. Still, I kept my face calm when I encountered him in public. Once at the grocery store, he strutted past me with another woman, his arm draped around her like a trophy. He leaned close enough to whisper, "Still alone?" I smiled, not flinching, and said only, "For now." The flicker in his eyes told me he wasn't expecting my composure. For the first time, I saw fear crack through his arrogance. Behind the scenes, I strengthened my defenses. I froze, my credit checked my accounts, daily changed passwords, locked down everything he might try to reach. I also reached out quietly to the women he paraded online, not with accusations but with empathy. And that's when the second twist hit. One of them responded with screenshots of her own Daniel sending her the exact same lines he once sent me, promising forever, mocking my insistence on a prenup, calling me damaged goods. My stomach twisted, but not with heartbreak. with vindication. He wasn't just a liar to me. He was a pattern repeating himself with anyone naive enough to believe him. The urge to confront him pulsed through me, but I held back. Not yet. Timing mattered. Revenge wasn't about rage, it was about precision, and I wanted the moment to count. Then came the invitation. My ex-best friend, the one who had posted that cruel caption, invited me to her birthday gathering. At first I thought it was mockery, another twist of the knife, but curiosity tugged at me. Something in her tone felt strained. Against my better judgment, I went. What I walked into wasn't a party. It was a scene unraveling. My friend pulled me aside almost immediately, her eyes darting nervously. She confessed Daniel had turned on her too. He had used her to spread rumors about me, then discarded her the moment it stopped serving him. She admitted she had joined in because she envied me. Envied the stability she thought I had, envied the way he once looked at me. But he doesn't love anyone, she whispered. Not really. He only calculates. I should have felt satisfaction, but instead there was only a heavy sadness. Sadness that I had once considered her family, and sadness that Daniel left a trail of broken trust wherever he went. But her confession gave me something else, more proof. Proof of his manipulation, his strategy, his cruelty. Piece by piece, the story of who he truly was came together, and I knew it wouldn't be long before the world saw it too. Because while Daniel was busy performing his victories, I was crafting the stage for his downfall. The breaking point came sooner than I expected. One crisp Saturday morning while I was watering the garden, my husband to never be once pretended to admire, my phone buzzed with a message that made my blood run cold. It was from Daniel's uncle, the same lawyer whose email I had stumbled across. Only this time, it wasn't advice to Daniel. It was a threat to me. A carefully worded letter warning that if I continued slandering Daniel or interfering with his future engagements, there would be legal consequences. I sat on the back steps with the phone in my hand, the water from the hose soaking into the dirt, and for a moment I felt 17 again, powerless, silenced, the world stacked against me. But then I remembered the letter my own lawyer had drafted, the mountain of evidence I had quietly compiled, and I realized something. This wasn't power they were wielding, it was desperation. That evening I made my choice. I released the truth, not with malice, not with screaming, but with clarity. I sent the screenshots, the email, the forwarded messages to a journalist I trusted, someone who had once written about financial predators and manipulative relationships. I didn't embellish, I didn't exaggerate. I simply handed over the puzzle pieces I had collected and let the picture form on its own. The fallout was immediate. Within a week, an article appeared online, "The Cost of Trust When Love Becomes Leverage." Daniel's name wasn't hidden, neither was mine. The piece laid bare his patterns, the debts, the manipulations, the repeated lines fed to women he saw as stepping stones. It painted him not as a victim of my paranoia, but as a man who preyed on loyalty to secure his own survival. And suddenly the tables turned. Those same friends who had once whispered about me now whispered about him. Women began reaching out, sharing their own stories of his deceit. His new girlfriend vanished from his arm, his job prospects faltered, his family's pristine reputation cracked under the weight of exposure. The uncle who had threatened me was forced to issue a public statement denying involvement. When Daniel finally showed up at my door, his mask was gone. He wasn't charming anymore. He wasn't smug. He was furious, trembling, his eyes bloodshot from nights without sleep. He demanded to know why I had done it, why I couldn't just let things go. I looked at him, this man I had once believed would be my partner for life, and felt nothing but the cold calm of truth. "You taught me something," I said softly. "That silence only feeds betrayal. And I won't feed you anymore." He spat insults, tried to shove blame back onto me, but the more he raged, the smaller he seemed. When he finally stormed off into the night, I knew that was the last time he would ever hold power over me. In the quiet that followed, I walked through the house and touched the life I had rebuilt for myself. It wasn't grand or perfect, but it was mine, earned, protected, untainted by his greed. For the first time in years, I felt like the ground beneath me was solid. I still think of love, of course. I still wonder if I'll ever trust again. But I no longer fear losing everything to someone else's choices, because I have already lived through the fire and I have the scars to prove it. And if you've been where I've been, if you felt the sting of betrayal dressed as love, know this. The wound may never vanish, but it can become your armor. It can remind you that survival is its own kind of revenge, and truth is stronger than any illusion. If my story resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what did betrayal teach you about strength and about yourself? Your voice matters here.